It's very enticing to feel sorry for ourselves, and it also requires no action. If we feel sorry for ourselves, we can wallow in self-pity, in guilt, in all those emotions, and not be required to change the society that we live in. So it's kind of a double whammy.
In the United States, just in the last week or 2 weeks ago, either it was in the New York Times or the Washington Post, there was a story about how people are annoyed when they go to visit plantations, which now do tours, and they hear all about the slaves. And they didn't come to the plantation to hear about the slaves.
It's not a happy story.
It's not a happy story. They came to hear about the wonderful life on the plantation. And now you're taking to show us the slave quarters, and you're showing us the place where there's slave markets. And people have complained. I don't go on these tours to be made to feel guilty or depressed or whatever.
Where are the happy darkies?
But that's the forgetting, isn't it? I mean, that's exactly that kind of nationalism which is based on amnesia, you know.
That's right.
And is based on the construction and reinforcement and continual reinforcement. You're talking about Poland, and you know that this is not a passive process. It's a very active political process of reconstructing a past.
That's exactly right. And John Howard has poured tens of millions, if not more, dollars into, building up the Gallipoli myth and this legend of us as a military, nation with our great defeat at Gallipoli, and incorporating Aboriginal people and voices into that, and rightly so, because there were Aboriginal men and women at Gallipoli, of course. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not passive, it's strategic, and it's very, very cunning.
But the point, man, I think this is where we have to take it on. I mean, I think there's a tendency among people who are instinctively, on the left or progressive, to mistrust nationalism itself and to say, God, we all know there's really good reasons for this, right? So you can lay a lot at the door of nationalism. However, let's remember, nationalism has also been really important for subject peoples, to assert themselves, to regain a sense of dignity for themselves.
And nature abhors a vacuum.
It does, precisely. And I think what we really need to start doing is fingering them as the enemies of the people, because if you look at it, they drip with absolute contempt. Look at Trump's inauguration speech. It's astonishing. Nobody else could ever have got away with making a speech as an incoming American president, which was so full of contempt for America.
The carnage.
American carnage, all this sort of stuff. And so...
You know what George W. Bush, the second George Bush, said as he was walking out? He said, "We just heard some weird shit."
Yeah. But the point of the weird shit, remember, is that what they're trying to do is actually move away from classical nationalism.